Eksklusif untuk Anda kami hadirkan CEO dari Tata Motors Distribusi Indonesia, Biswadev Sengupta. Pak Biswadev, 3% we have the slowing growth of the auto sector in Southeast Asia. Indonesia is including, and we are also facing stagnation in Malaysia. How does Tata Motors see this? Are there somehow still room to grow for Tata Motors?
Yeah, the Indonesian automobile market has come down this year. If we look at the figures published by Gaikindo, the automobile industry has come down by almost 10% this year.
Even they revised the target as well, Gaikindo.
Yes, correct. Because this year it would be difficult to reach maybe the 1 million mark. Although I'm still optimistic, but it might be difficult to reach the 1 million mark this year. But if you break the year into segments, we find that in the last 3-4 months, at least the commercial vehicle industry has started to pick up. And the commercial vehicle industry means the trucks and the pickups and the buses. That industry has started to pick up. And that is where Tata Motors is also active. We are active in the commercial vehicle industry. And I believe that this momentum of the growth in the commercial vehicle industry will continue in the following year also. And that is where Tata Motors plays. And we are very optimistic about the possibilities of the coming year.
Since you're operating in Indonesia, whatever statement coming out from Gaikindo is very great to be used as the catalyst or parameter for this particular industry. By Gaikindo revising its target down, how do you see the percentage of this revision? Is it still on the moderate revision, or this particular revision signaling something that even Gaikindo being pessimistic?
No, it is a sort of a correction of the figures, because the initial figures were published at the beginning of the year. So it is a correction of the figures. But I strongly feel, while the car market may remain stagnant, but there is lot of potential for the growth in the commercial vehicle market in the coming year. Because with it is not only about the commodity business, the mining industry, but also the growth in the infrastructure business, because there is a lot of investment that is going to happen, which is already happening and is going to happen in the infrastructure side. And also hopefully the industrial production will also go up, and all this will need lot of commercial vehicles to be put onto the road. And also there is now new restrictions which are coming in. In Indonesia the commercial vehicles are overused or abused, with high amount of overloading that happens on these vehicles. Now there is a restriction that is coming in, that vehicles cannot be used in an abusive condition. Overloading and over dimension will be restricted. That will also give a fillip to the demand for commercial vehicles, because now more commercial vehicles will be needed to transport the same amount of goods.
Yeah. Given the current situation, every single countries face this kind of pressures. Being here in Indonesia, what kind of pressures uniquely or specifically faced by Indonesian auto industry? The main challenge is to keep on bringing out new products to meet the requirement or the changing requirement of the Indonesian consumers. That is mainly in the passenger car side. And now with the country moving more towards the electrification of the industry, and that is the roadmap which has been set by the government. So that would be a challenge particularly for the passenger car industry, to develop products for the electric industry and adapt to the new requirements. For commercial vehicles, there are two challenges which are coming up. There is this B30 regulation that is going to come in from January next year. So the commercial vehicle industry has to, because most of the commercial vehicles operate on diesel, and it is going to be B30 from next year. So the commercial vehicle manufacturers have to adapt to that requirement. And also the country is moving from Euro 2 emission norms to Euro 4 emission norms for diesel vehicles from April 2021. So the commercial vehicle manufacturers, since most of the commercial vehicles operate on diesel, will have to adapt to this new requirement also. It's not good news at all when we heard about these several global auto industry companies cutting off the number of their employee and do in behalf of efficiency. Let's say we have GM, Ford Motor, all the way to Nissan Motors. They are saying this is simply to save some of their company operating costs. What about Tata Motors? How firm and strong actually Tata Motors with its established brand position in Indonesia? In Indonesia, we are relatively a new brand. We started our operations 6 years back. So we are still in a growing phase. So we are not talking about cutting down, we are not talking about reducing, we are talking about always growth, irrespective of what happens in the marketplace, because we are in a growth phase. We are still a relatively a young player in the marketplace. So we can only grow, we cannot think of anything else.
That is very great confidence you have as a young player as well, coming into this very competitive playing field. Then what kind of differentiation you can offer? Maybe you can mention by far to what percentage or to what extent you already contributed to Indonesian auto market, let's say by providing the commercial vehicles or perhaps working also on the passengers car industries.
We are present only in the commercial vehicle space, while in India and many other markets we have passenger vehicles as well as commercial vehicles. But in Indonesia, we are only with the commercial vehicle products, because we feel that Indonesia, being a developing country, developing economy, would need very good commercial vehicles much more than passenger cars. So, because these commercial vehicles will aid in the economic development of the country. And Tata products we are well known for their low operating cost, low maintenance cost, so that gives and can take in lot of abuse in the on the roads. So that gives a big economic advantage to the vehicle operators in Indonesia. So we always believe, and we stand guarantee on that our vehicles will offer the best total cost of ownership. We call it TCO, total cost of ownership. So a Tata vehicle, as compared to any other product in a similar segment, will have the lowest total cost of ownership, which includes fuel cost, maintenance cost, spare parts cost. So that would be the lowest on Tata vehicles. So for a commercial vehicle operator, that is the most important or most significant parameter which would help in growth of his business.
On his second terms of administration, our president promised the auto sector business players another, quotes, sweetener. Having reviewed what he has done in his first term, how did you see it? And then what is expected from the business players' perspective when we talk about this incentives aspect?
Although Tata Motors is as I mentioned, is a relatively young player in the marketplace. But what I feel is that the auto industry is now slowly coming of age in Indonesia. And the focus should not be only about the Indonesian market. The big automotive manufacturers in Indonesia should be encouraged, supported for going into the export markets also. And not only in the ASEAN market, where already a lot of exports are happening, but also to the outside markets. It could be Middle East markets, it could be the African markets, Latin America. So that should be supported and encouraged, because there is a big wide market for Indonesian vehicles outside Indonesia also, which we should tap into.
Biswadev Sengupta, we are going to continue after this one. Pastikan Anda masih bersama kami, dialog eksklusif bersama CEO dari Tata Motors Distribusi Indonesia.